What is up, people? It is MewMonster58. Welcome back to another video review. Today we are going to be taking a look at the Transformers Age of the Primes Deluxe Class Aerialbot Fireflight, one of the the fourth of the 5 Aerialbots that we need to complete the Autobot combiner known as Superion. And this is really exciting because not only did we obviously get Fireflight in this wave, we also got the other one, Skydive. But Skydive's review will not come until next week, and Superion's won't come until the following week after that. But really nice to finally get this guy and Skydive in this so that we can finally complete Superion. But taking a look at the box here, you can see the very nice, the Transformers right here. You can see the Aerialbot Fireflight right there. You can see the 4 of 5 right here as well. The very nice artwork here of Fireflight, both in his jet mode as well as in his robot mode. Some very nice artwork here of more of the primes, as obviously with Age of the Primes, and then you can see some more nice artwork here of Superion as he appeared in the G1 cartoon. And then finally, you have your obligatory product shots of Fireflight himself right here. And as per usual, I think the Hasbro kills it with the packaging, and so without further ado, alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, here we have the Transformers Age of the Primes Deluxe Class Aerialbot Fireflight in his jet mode. And I gotta say, guys, when it comes to his jet mode, I think they absolutely nailed it. When we're gonna throw a picture on screen right now of how it looked in the cartoon, it's pretty much spot on. It's really, really good. And it's sad for me to say this, but out of the two modes, this is his best mode. His robot mode, and we'll talk about his robot mode obviously when we get to it. But I think when you're comparing both of them, this is absolutely the best one. Now, we're going to do something a little bit different here, and what we're going to do is I'm actually going to bring in Slingshot here, because when it comes to Slingshot, Slingshot happens to be what this guy is a remold, retool, repaint of, and so to show you the differences between both of them, I'm going to bring in Slingshot. So I'm going to set little Fireflight off to the side here. And here we have him with Slingshot. So taking a look at the major differences, what you can see on the side here, and I don't know how easily you'll understand what I'm saying. The wings here are molded to sort of be flush on Slingshot with the back of the jet mode. Here you can see that they ended up moving the wings down all the way here. In addition to that, that basically means the entire sort of top section of this is remolded, and you can see there's some different details here. You can see these little 6 little squares here on the back of the jet mode on the top. And see here, this is molded differently as well. They are very different here. And you can see, because of the way that they move the wings down here, that means the top part of this looks a bit skinnier, and it basically is a bit skinnier than Slingshot's. In addition to that, the wings are obviously completely different. You can see here, I'll do my best to show the differences with the wings, maybe like that. I think that's a decent way to see it. You can see, obviously, you have there's a bit thicker wings here, and a bit more, these like the wing bits here on the extra side of the wing. Here you have a very clean with Fireflight here, and obviously the colors and the Autobot symbols are in different places, and then they moved around. In addition to that, when you look at the nose cones, those are obviously different as well. And what I saw is it's ever so slightly, but you can see when it comes to the size of the nose cones that Fireflight's is a bit longer here as well. But for the most part, after that, everything else is the same. Now, this part on Fireflight is the same as it is on Slingshot as well. These two are not that much different besides the actual paint and the detailing. Looking at the back and the bottoms are pretty much identical as well. I'm sure there's molding on where the chest will be, and that's a bit different, but I actually didn't flip the landing gear. But for the most part, those are the major differences in the jet mode and everything like that. I do like, out of the two, if I had to say which one I like more, I actually do like Fireflight more in terms of his jet mode. Not that Slingshot is bad by any stretch of the imagination, but I think out of the two, I really do like Fireflight better in terms of the jet mode. So overall, when it comes to the detailing too of the entirety of Fireflight's jet mode, I really do think that they did a really solid job. Even when we're looking at the details here, I mean, you can see the cockpit does look really, really nice. There is some nice molded in detail. It's very accurate. The wings look really, really good. He does come with the exact same accessories that Slingshot comes with. Both of these guns right here. He has 2 of these. The exact same as Slingshots. But the one thing I will say about Fireflight overall, and we'll get more into this when we get into the transformation in the robot mode. This guy's joints are tighter. That's one nice thing from Slingshot to this guy, is that the joints are tighter, not too tight to where, if you have to really force something or feel like you're forcing something, you might break it. With Fireflight here, it's just very nicely done. They feel tighter, easier, not as easy to move around. They're not as loose, and that makes this guy feel a little bit more complete, I guess is what you would say. But overall, when it comes to his jet mode, I think they did a really, really fantastic job with it. And so, because we're going to be doing our comparisons anyway, we are going to, set Fireflight off to the side here. Alrighty, since we did Slingshot already, technically, here he is with the Transformers Legacy United, Deluxe Class, and Furnac Universe Magnus. As you can see, these two look very nice together, but in terms of the sizing, obviously, since this guy's just a remold, retool, repaint of Slingshot, he is the exact same Deluxe Class size that you can expect, and we can't really complain too much about that, so I'm pretty happy with that overall. Nothing too crazy, but the sizing, I think, works here, especially when you scale him to his Aerialbot teammates. Speaking of more teammates, here he is with the Transformers Age of the Primes Deluxe Class Aerialbot Air Raid. As you can see, these two also look really, really nice together. And yeah, I mean, just do a couple of shots like that. Look very nice with one another. Very nice to finally have all of these Aerialbots here. One of the iconic teams, right? So sizing works very, very nicely. And review to come next week. Here he is with the Transformers Age of the Primes Deluxe Class Aerialbot Skydive. As you can see, these two... Actually, I completely mistransformed him. That's my bad there. But these two very much look very nice together. As you can see, there are significant differences between... Air Raid and Skydive, and we'll obviously detail those when we get into the actual Skydive review. But that's one thing I'll end up bringing up later in regards to Fireflight and my conclusion for this figure, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. And finally, folks, the comparison wouldn't be complete if we didn't bring in the Transformers Age of the Primes Commander Class Aerialbot Silverbolt, the leader of the Aerialbots. As you can see, these two also look really, really nice together. I think they absolutely did nail the jet modes on these guys, and that's really, really nice to see. Again, when it comes to... Actually, I don't even have the landing gear correct on Silverbolt because I'm stupid. But overall, when it comes to the Aerialbots, definitely where they made the more compromises is in their robot modes, because at the end of the day, more than likely, most people, including myself, will have this guy in Superion mode, and so when it comes to their sizing and how the jet modes look, I think that's where they really wanted to focus a lot of their, design language and design on, and they absolutely nailed it in that respect. Alrighty, folks, and now it's time to get into the transformation for Fireflight. Now, when it comes to Fireflight, since he is a slight remold, retool, and repaint of Slingshot, despite the fact that they do have decently significant molded differences, their transformations are completely exactly the same. You do the exact same things to transform this guy, and so I'm not going to be showing that. What I will do is a link in the upper right and a link in the description if you guys wish to take a look at the Slingshot review. I would definitely appreciate if you would take a look at that. But if you want the transformation, definitely go ahead and take a look at that Slingshot review, and that will show you how to transform this guy. But just like per usual, when I do sort of a remold retool, we're going to take Fireflight from looking like this in his jet mode and into this in his robot mode. Now, what we're going to do real quick is we're actually going to set this guy off to the side, and we're going to put a picture of Firefly as he appeared in the cartoon next to him. Now, the issue that is very much plaguing this robot mode is primarily his legs, because when you look at his upper body, I actually think they nailed the upper body pretty well, and that they didn't really technically need to do all that much remolding and retooling to make this guy into Firefly instead of Slingshot. But when you look at the legs, I totally understand, especially when you look at the actual vehicle mode, there's not much place for all that white to go, because like look at the robot mode and then look at the jet mode. It's really hard to get all of that white out, because where's it come from, right, at the end of the day? But at the same time, that doesn't still, remove this from the fact that when it comes to the accuracy of this robot mode, it's not quite accurate, especially when you look at the legs in comparison to the actual cartoon model. Not to say that this is bad by any stretch of the imagination. We'll take a look at the details here. And you can see the head sculpt is absolutely the biggest remold and retool repaint. It does look really, really nice, and it's absolutely nailed when you look at the animation model. It looks really, really good. Very nice blue eyes, nice molded in mouth, nose, and everything like that. Nice silver for the top of the head, nice white for the side of the face. Looks good. The chest also looks really, really solid. You can see some differences in the molding there when it comes to Slingshot. We'll definitely compare the two. I'll look a little more in detail when we actually compare Slingshot. Nice crotch piece, but again, the legs are pretty much the exact same. The only major difference is the fact that on Slingshot, the wings are a bit further back, just due to the fact that they are higher up on the actual jet mode. But overall, when it comes to Fireflight's look, it's not that it's bad by any stretch of the imagination, but because he is just a remold retool of Slingshot, and they didn't do too much to him, especially when it comes to the legs, is where the significant difference, in my opinion, is from when you're looking at the animation model. He doesn't feel as original, and we'll get into this when I talk about Skydive, when I get to the Skydive review, but despite the fact that Skydive was a remold, retool, repaint of Air Raid, I think the fact that when they did all that remolding, retooling, repainting for Skydive, I think they achieved a much more unique feeling character, you know, from the remold, retool, repaint than this remold, retool, repaint of another aerial bot. I hope you guys get where I'm coming from there. It's just, I think they were more successful in making Skydive feel like his own character despite being a remold, retool, and repaint in comparison to remolding and retooling and repainting Slingshot into Fireflight. Fireflight, I don't think, was as successful as Skydive. But again, like I said, the robot mode does not look bad by any stretch of the imagination, just not fully accurate. But what we're going to do is we are going to do our size comparison. So we are going to actually set Fireflight off to the side here. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to zoom out, and then we are going to increase the height because Silverbolt is obviously a tad bit bigger. Here he is with the Transformers Legacy United Infernac Universe Deluxe Class Magnus. As you can see, these two look very nice together. Average deluxe size from when you're comparing, both of these figures. Basically same size as Slingshot, so if you have Slingshot, you know what to expect with the size from Fireflight. Obviously, here's the big one. Here he is with the Transformers Age of the Primes Deluxe Class Aerialbot Slingshot. As you can see, these two teammates do look very nice together. The one thing I actually didn't point out, too, when it comes to the actual accessories for Fireflight is that they're not accurate at all. That's the other little point I'm going to knock off on this guy. They didn't even bother giving him unique, like, guns, and they did for Skydive, and so I'm like, if you could give Skydive unique guns, why couldn't you give Fireflight unique guns, right? And so that adds to my point about Fireflight's remold retool not being as successful as Skydive's from Air Raid. I hope you guys understand. But what you can see, the major difference that you're going to see with the molding differences between these two is definitely in the chest. When it comes to their legs, they're pretty much exactly the same. Again, the wings are just a bit farther back when it comes to Slingshot, but the chest is really where you can see those extra rivets on the red on Fireflight right here, right? You can see those little extra rivets there on in Fireflight's chest. Also, you obviously see the painting in there. Obviously, Slingshot does not have those, and for the most part, other than the head sculpts and the nose cones that are very apparent, and the legs, there's not many other differences between the two. So overall, when it comes to how these two look together, I do think they look really good, and obviously being remolds and retools and repaints of one another, they're basically the exact same size. Again, I just feel like when it comes to the originality, Fireflight does not feel as original of a character because they took so much from the Slingshot mold. Right here he is with his other teammate, Transformers Age of the Primes, Deluxe Class Aerialbot Air Raid. As you can see, these two also look really, really nice together. Very cool to see these two finally together, along with the rest of their teammates. And then finally, here he is with the Transformers Age of the Primes Deluxe Class Aerialbot Skydive. Again, as you can see, these two also look really, really nice together. And like I said, with the Skydive review, again, I just feel Skydive's remold, retool, repaint was much more successful than Fireflight's, but we'll get into that when we get into his review next week, when that video releases. And for the final comparison, here he is with the Transformers Age of the Primes Commander Class Silverbolt. And now, obviously, when it comes to Silverbolt, in the show, they were more or less the same size all the Aerialbots were, but given the fact that he has to be the, figure that they use to, give us the entire shell, and that the fact that he's commander, I am okay with the size discrepancy. Maybe Silverbolt in certain scenes was probably a little bit bigger, but not by much. They all relatively had a very similar size amongst the 5 of them, but again, I'm not going to be too mad about the fact that there's a size difference, especially because, just like I said, 90% of people are probably going to have this guy in the Superion combined mode rather than in their individual robot modes anyway. But these two do look really, really nice together, and obviously you can see the size difference between the Deluxe class as well as the Voyager at the Commander class price point. Alrighty folks, now time to get into the articulation of Fireflight. Very similar to Slingshot, it's pretty solid articulation. So getting into it, obviously you do have the a ball joint at the head, and then you can look go full 360 and look it down. You can look down a fair but not really up, but you can do full 360 at the shoulders. You can go out, you can go in, rotation the upper part of the bicep, more than 90 at the elbow because of transformation. No wrist articulation, unfortunately, but you do get nice waist articulation. Sorry about that, folks. I ended up my phone got full on storage, so I just had to delete some stuff, and we are back now. But legs can go back and forth. You have a 90-degree bend at the knee, rotation of the upper part of the thigh, and then you have some nice ankle rocker pivot. So when it comes to the articulation of this guy, it's actually pretty solid overall, and I have no real major complaints with it. Gotta bring the camera back up. But it's nothing to write home about, but it's not bad either. It's pretty box standard for what you would expect from a figure these days. Alrighty guys, and finally it's time to get into the reverse transformation. So when it comes to the reverse transformation, just like I said with Slingshot, if you wish to take a look at the reverse transformation, there will be a link in the description down below if you wish to take a look at the Slingshot review, but it's the exact same transformation as Slingshot, so we're going to take Fireflight from looking like this in this robot mode, and finally into this, back in this jet mode. And so guys, for my final and concluding thoughts on the Transformers Age of the Primes Deluxe Class Aerialbot Fireflight, for the fourth Aerialbot, he's a little bit disappointing. And the major thing that I am disappointed with about this guy is primarily due to the fact that they took so much from Slingshot, and they didn't do as much as I would have liked. At this point, I kind of would have rather them given him a whole new mold. That his character, despite the fact that he is nicely remolded, retooled, repainted, and the jet mode looks fantastic, the robot mode leaves a lot to be desired, especially because they didn't give him unique accessories. And I'm like, that's really lame. But what this figure does well is, like I said, the jet mode looks really, really nice. I also think the articulation's solid. He feels the joints, mold to mold, are much tighter than Slingshot, and tight enough to where they just feel really, really solid. And so I really do enjoy that about this figure, and all the molded in differences really shine in the jet mode, which is where I think the designers really wanted to hammer that home. But the other little thing I'll say that about this guy that I'm not the biggest fan of is he's got those hollow legs, but again, that's a carry from Slingshot. Now, despite the fact that I do think that he looks really good in a vacuum as his figure on his own. Because of Slingshot's existence, out of a 10, I gotta give this guy the exact same score I gave Slingshot, a 7.5. Not that he's a bad figure, would I recommend him? If you're getting the Aerialbots, absolutely, you're gonna need this guy to complete Superion. But other than that, would I necessarily recommend him? I think so, still. I think he's still a solid figure. It's just, with Slingshot's existence, it just makes him feel less unique. And like I said, I think Skydive's execution of a remold, retool, repaint from Air Raid made him feel like a much more unique character in comparison, and so I really do like it in that sense. So, I did pick mine up in the Big Bad Toy Store, so leave a link in the description to that. Also, leave links down below to Hasbro Pulse, as well as Amazon if you wish to use those retailers instead of Big Bad Toy Store. And he should be hitting retailers relatively soon, if not now, so definitely be on the lookout IRL if you decide to hunt this guy that way, and I definitely wish you the best of luck in doing so. But with that all out of the way, I thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. Please like, comment, rate, and subscribe. Share this video with your friends. Also follow me on the socials. Those will be linked in the description below. And with that, guys, once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video review. I'll catch you on the next one. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Peace.